Good morning. We are going to begin today at our feet, work up through the legs, into the hips, into the belly, and to the shoulder girdle and ribs, and up through the neck. Let's get rolling. Come back to your chair and take yourself feet on the floor, vertical state through your upper body to the best of your ability. And begin by breathing. Yeah? And take an ankle onto the knee. And let's just grab the toe, big toe here. And pull the big toe gently. Obviously, don't go hard on yourself. This is your body that you're pulling. Just kind of pull it, give it a little tug. Give a little tug to the next toe, the next toe, the next toe. Just kind of give a little tug to each of those. And then bring your big toe, take your big toe, and make circles with it. Yeah, and again, be gentle with yourself. Make big circles with it. Get into that bottom, where the toe connects onto the forefoot. Just roll that around in both directions. Get a feel for its relative stiffness. And then massage out through the top of your foot, through your toes, through the bottom of your foot, and then just kind of get into that area. We're going to do this without the ball today because I want you to feel with your fingers what your feet feel like. And if you're tuning in from a place where it's warm, and it's not always warm, like for me here in Calgary, you begin to really feel what happens when you start to wear sandals, right? Or when you begin to be more barefoot. You can start to feel the experience of what that's like on your feet, right? Okay, now horseshoe your hand, your finger and your thumb. Take it onto your heel. Have the thumb point up towards that ankle bone, and you're just going to move that heel up towards the ankle bone. So I spend a lot of time on the bigger joints, right? On the hips and the shoulders, because there's so much range of motion in there that if we can really get clear on where we're compensating through the shoulders and the hips, we can make a huge amount of gains. And then we need to connect that range and that stability with our feet, right? Between our hips and our feet, and that whole kinetic chain through here. So that's why I ultimately come here as well. But I don't often start at the feet, honestly. I know there's people out there who do. I tend to start here just because there's so much we can develop and become aware of through here. But I will come down here, as you can see. Good. All right, let's go to the other side and start to give a little playful pull to the toes. It's also really interesting to play with your feet as you're cresting 40 to 50 to 60 to 70, and just notice like the tissue suppleness in your feet, because so often people's feet as they get older get more sore, and then they choose to wear, so we're just kind of getting all into those feet. Oh, I have to do the circles here with the big toe. No, I'm doing it this way. You can just do it like so. And then they wear really comfortable shoes, right? To keep the pain away, which is great, except it's not like looking at the actual suppleness of the feet or of the hips. So when we get things moving, then feet feel better. And then we don't need to compensate with an external item so soon. Right? Doesn't mean that as you start to crest into certain decades that you will need those supports, but you might not need them as soon. Yeah? You can really maintain that functionality for a little bit longer. So that message is for those of you who are not only in your 40s, let's take your horseshoe, your hand, but you're in your 50s and you're really starting to feel some stuff, right? Or you're cresting into 60 and you're really starting to feel some stuff. And my dad, I remember a conversation, I wrote about this a while back. My dad and I had a conversation when he was 80 about how at 70, you really can keep ahead of the entropy. 80, little harder. You got to put a bit more effort into it. Like he was always a very, very active man. So he could, even though he wasn't a very aware of his body man, he was active enough that he was aware enough, right? You know what I mean? Okay, so feel your feet on the bottom, feel your feet on the floor. But he was in touch enough to know, let's bring the ankle up again. And we're going to take our hands onto that shin bone here that you can feel. So you're just going to massage into the seam of your pants, or if you're not wearing pants, you'll feel the bone as that comes up through here, and then just bring your thumbs into that. But he was aware enough that he could tell at 80 was different than 70, yeah? And 70 he could keep up on stuff, but 80 he had to do a lot more. And then when he moved out of his house, which had a few sets of stairs into an apartment, in the latter part of his life, it was like the decline was remarkable for everybody, including him, to witness, which was like, okay, now he's really got to stay on it, right? And it's really interesting. It's really interesting how your own functionality as you get older, how that impacts so much, right? So much. And I know a lot of people who follow this channel are in their 50s and in their 60s and in their 70s. Okay, I know that. And so this is for you. Not to ignore those in their 40s and their 30s and their 20s who are following, who want to keep staying functional really, really, really well and supple. Yeah? Okay, so now ankles up here. Let's just I'm going to do it this way for you so you can see. We're going to move forward through the hips. Yeah. I was one of the lucky ones because I developed persistent pain in my 20s. And so having been an athlete, a very good athlete through my teen years, I knew how to push past a lot of whispers. But I couldn't do it anymore in my mid-20s, which is not typical for a mid-20-year-old. All right, good. And then let's take that ankle off. And then other ankle. Good. Good. And then coming forward. And then I also learned about little other sensitivities I had in my late 20s. So I figured out a lot of this kind of stuff early on in life. So a lot of things that people start to develop in their understandings in their 40s, that they're like, okay, really, I can't do that one anymore. And there's a bit of grief around it, honestly, right? In the 40s and the 50s, I had to deal with that in my 20s. So I've had a few decades of awareness and of learning of correlation patterns, of listening to whispers. Yeah. But you really can learn this at any age. And as one massage therapist once said to me when I was in my 20s, she said, all the stuff you sort out in your 20s, you don't have to sort out in your 40s. I'm like, okay, I'll work on that. So now I'm in my 40s, and there's still stuff that we get to work on. So those of you who didn't have the experience like I had in the 20s, and you're now working within your 40s, you're in a really good space. Okay, so legs become wide. Let's lean forward here. Okay, now I want you just to feel those 3 points on the bottom of your feet, the center of the heel, the ball of the foot, and the base of the pinky toe. Feel those 3 points. Good. All right, and then come on up. Good, and then feet come together. All right, and let's bring this off. And I'd like you to grab a strap and just hold onto the strap and be here in standing. And now feel what it's like to be on your feet, center of the heel, ball of the foot, base of the pinky toe. Okay, and let's take the strap. All right, so now place it here. And we're gonna also do this with the block as well, so we'll see which one works better for you. You're gonna bend your knees ever so slightly. Have your hands in the front crease of your hips, and then just gently press your legs out into the strap. And notice what you feel at your feet. Now, if you're someone who tends to overly pronate, you'll notice that as you press your legs wide into the strap, that the arches of your feet lift. So you're not lifting your arches willfully. You're not saying, okay, arches lift. You're moving your leg bones in your hip socket, and you're noticing that the feet arches lift. Yeah? So that's curious, isn't it? So you're starting to recognize, if you don't know this one yet, that your outer hip has a relationship to your foot. So think about this when you're running or you're cycling or you're supping, hiking. Think about this relationship here of your outer hip and what goes on with your foot, so that as you're taking that step, right, or do this way, as you take your step and you're collapsing inward, right, I'm exaggerating it, right, then what happens through your foot? And then what does your foot do to compensate? Yeah? So it becomes interesting. Let's grab a block now, place it between your thighs. So now you're here, and again, come into a sitting position. Now just feel the block. You're not going to squeeze in. I just want you to hold the block. And then take a look down at your feet. Feel your feet. Feel the center of your heel, ball of your foot, base of your pinky toe. Notice what you feel under your feet. For me here, we've got, like I'm in Calgary, so we've got a very, very short summer. And we've got a set, a little laneway of gravel alongside our garage towards where all the garbage bins and recycling bins and all that are. And I like being barefoot a lot in the summer, but I also like to walk on those stones barefoot. It was something that I figured out when we were on the coast one year, where I was walking on the logs and walking on the beach. And in the first day, it was like, ow, right? Like my feet felt so stiff. But then as I did it over the day or two, my feet became a lot more supple. So I love to play on that until when I take out the recycling or the compost out to those bins, I like to walk on those stones just to remind myself of where my feet are at. Okay, good. And then come on up. Great. Let that go. Okay, let's take an ankle now onto the knee or above the knee. Good. And now let's start to take a little bit of a sit. And then notice what happens. And if you need to brace through the bottom leg, and if you do, then only take yourself a little low. Yeah, notice what happens with this foot or further up the chain. Good, good. And then other side. You can always hold on to a chair or hold on to a wall, just like this. And then ankle, and then, move through the hip. So you play around with your own balance and your own mobility, your own stamina. What often can happen when people are coming into these positions is they knock those knees forward and don't move at all through the hip. So I want you to think about moving through the hip, right? Because it's about connecting through the hip to the foot. You want to keep those two in your awareness. Whoops. All right, good. And then bring that down. All right, let's take a side bend. Side bends sometimes feel so pointless. I know a lot of people find them like, come on, get on with it. Let's get on with something important. And yet, side bends are really wild because they help release some of the tissue on the lateral line of your body, particularly perhaps for some of you down through the outside of your abdomen on towards your pelvis. And that has a huge impact on the way that you walk, the way that you run, the way that you sit. And it is one of the most powerful movements related to helping people recover from back pain or hip issues, because so many people don't realize how limited they are through their sides. That's mostly the reason why, is because it's so much under their level of awareness. So it kind of blows people's minds a bit. Okay, now we're going to do it one more time to this side, but this time come in with your feet. So feel your feet on the floor, the center of the heel, ball of the foot, base of pinky toe, and then take that side bend, but keep the weight through this leg that you're moving away from. You're not, obviously, your weight's transferring over, but don't lose contact in your mind's eye from that foot and that leg, right? Even like rub that hip a little bit just to bring the awareness back. Good. And then other side. And do your best when you come into the side that you're moving through two planes of glass, that you're not rotating or you're not putting the ribs forward. What can be interesting is if you do this with a block between your legs or strapped, that can sometimes provide even a little bit more awareness to you. Let's take the hands down, palms facing down, and move the arms through the shoulder sockets. And then palms are going to face up. So again, this is the primary joint that you're moving through. And then palms down. And then up. And then down. Okay, we're going to add the exhale. You can think about the exhale coming out your nose or your mouth as you move the elbows back. So as you go into extension here. So exhale, exhale. Yeah, exhale. So coming through the mouth would sound like this. Yeah. Okay, one more. And then last one. Okay, perfect. Now, drop the arms, rest yourself here in standing. Notice what you feel between your feet, your legs, and your arms. Okay, now we're going to take one arm up this way. So it kind of cresses past your side of your head if you can. Some of you might be like this. Do your best. This is where you're moving toward. You're moving towards this, so you're going straight into flexion of that arm bone and the shoulder socket, so you're going straight up. But if you need to be wide, then come out more like that, or maybe do the motion more down here. That would be better. So if you can't bring it straight up without making those ribs, just make it a smaller motion. Okay? And then again, it's an exhale, exhale, and this other arm is going to go back this way. Exhale, exhale. And then switch sides. Exhale, exhale. And exhale, and exhale. And so be aware of what's going on with your pelvis and your ribs and your feet. And if as you're moving through your shoulders, if you're kind of going like this, and you can do that, like it's a movement, but I'd like you to keep your movement for this purpose just through your shoulder, because your shoulders, your arm and your shoulder sockets, that is the primary mover. Your elbows going along for the ride. Your hands are going along for the ride. Your torso is quiet. Exhale, 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 and last one. Good. Okay, so now here you are. Now notice yourself and your feet and your legs and your hips. Okay, now let's come back to the chair. And bring one foot up. Feel the bottom of the feet on both, center of the heel, ball of the foot, base of the pinky toe, and let's take a twist. Now the movement, rib cage moving relative to pelvis. So I'm not getting you to bring your hands in first because I don't want you to leverage with your arms. Okay, let's just see where you're at here. Have your nose to be in line with your breastbone so that it's not your neck leading the way, that it really is your rib cage. Yeah. And then watch this back arm here. Rotate that arm and just let the hand open and close. Easy breathing. Feel the bottom of the foot on the floor. And let the hand stay open and have it stay closed. And notice what that feels like if you feel anything through up into the rib cage or to your chest. Lovely. And then drop the arm, untwist your body, and let's go to the other side. Leg comes up, rotate, rib cage is moving, hand comes over, but I'm just resting this easy. I'm not leveraging the arms there. I'm just resting it. This arm comes back, palm open, close. Good. Easy breathing. And coming on back. Good. And then let that go. Let's bring the strap back into this and have the strap be about shoulder width apart. And you're going to take the strap over top of your elbows, like so. Now you want it to be snug enough that you feel like you're being contained in a good way, but you don't want it to be so tight that you feel your hands are filling up with fluid. And so from here, let's just bring those arms backward. Have the movement be the arm bone in the shoulder socket. And so watch that the ribs, what happens with the ribs? Yeah. It's really remarkable how important it is in your later 40s and through your 50s to keep yourself mobile and supple. And to keep aware of your compensatory patterning so that you can shift it and you can continue to address how your body is communicating with you. Because if you can keep that conversation clear, and then let the arms rest down, if you can keep that conversation clear between your body and yourself through your 40s and your 50s, then it becomes more of a habit through your 60s. And it doesn't feel like you're getting like loaded down, right? But even when you're in your 60s and in your 70s, if you are feeling that loaded down, you can reconnect with the communication of your body. Okay, arms come wide here, palms open, and then fist. And that's what this really is about. It's about connecting with the sensations and symptoms of your body as a means of communication, right? Because that's what symptoms and sensations are. They're letting you know that something's up. Okay, and then drop that down. Roll the shoulders. Shoulders come up to the ears, and then pull those shoulder blades back and then down and then up. I've been very fortunate all through my career to mostly always work, most of the time, with people who are older than myself. All right. All right, lovely. Okay, now I'm going to just come down towards the floor here. And then I want you to come back down onto your knees. And just take your toes underneath yourself here like so. And then just gently come down and then up. Down and then up. Now, some of you won't be able to bring your toes under, so you can just be here, down and then up. So think about hip-knee relationship there. And if you need some underneath your knees, go for it. Good. And last one. Good. All right, now, with this awareness, bring yourself forward and start to move forward into a lunge. And then other side. Good. Now let's come back up into our chair. Or if you want, if you prefer, you can be sitting on the floor. All right, good. And here you are. Vertical. And feel what you feel from your feet, through your shins, through your knees, thighs, hips, torso, and face. Feel your breath. Coming back to your breathing. And then bring your hands together. And breathe in with ease. And out with gratitude. Have a really, 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 really great practice. Have a great day, great evening, wherever it is that you're tuning in. And if you want to dig in to any more of this, whether it's for your own self, or whether you want to learn about how it is that I do what I do, I'm going to put a link for the Therapeutic Yoga Intensive. We've got 3 of them coming up this fall. I would love to dig into these concepts with you and to share it with you, all right? So take a look there. Mwah. See you tomorrow.